The neighbor's voice cracked the night as he waved that folder in the air. But my daughter-in-law yanked harder, digging her nails into my arm. Her perfume, sharp and bitter, filled the car, suffocating me with shame. "Drive!" she snapped, her eyes glowing in the rear view like cold steel. The driver's hands trembled on the wheel as silence pressed on my chest. I saw the folder's corner sticking from my neighbor's grasp. The paper fluttered in the wind, a sound like wings fighting to escape. "Don't let her steal it all," he shouted, voice hoarse and desperate. The Uber's leather seats burned my legs through my thin pants. My daughter-in-law grinned, lips curled like she had already won. "Monday at 9. The neighbor yelled again, and my stomach sank. A date, a deadline. My life crushed into a courtroom's clock. If I wasn't there, she'd own my 401k, every cent I had. I wanted to ask him what the paper proved, but my throat locked. She leaned close, whispering poison. "You won't live to see that hearing?" The driver's cologne stabbed my nose, too sweet, like spoiled fruit. He glanced at me in the mirror, eyes full of doubt, then away. She pressed her phone against his shoulder. "Move, or I'll report you." The car lurched forward, tires screaming against the curb. I gripped the seatbelt buckle, but my hand shook too much. What would it cost me to fight back now? My dignity? My body? My son sat silent beside her, eyes cast down, shame flooding his face. Why didn't he stop her? Why did he let her touch me like that? I remembered his voice as a boy, soft and eager to help me. Now he was stone, lips pressed tight, betraying me in silence. The folder outside tapped against the glass with each desperate knock. A strange detail caught me. Ink smeared, blue lines bleeding into rain. That meant the document was fresh, just written, not old at all. So why did she want it hidden? What truth could undo her plan? I pressed my palm against the window, begging the driver to pause. He paused. Just for a second, his foot lifted from the gas. My neighbor's hand darted, slipping one page through the crack. The paper was damp, edges curled, words half blurred by drizzle. I caught the title, Court Hearing, Guardianship, and Retirement Account. My vision spun, blood rushing, as the car sped forward again. Guardianship. That meant she wanted control not only of money, she wanted me, the old man, to be declared unfit to live alone. That was the deeper theft, worse than the 401k itself. Losing my house, my freedom, my name, all to her signature. And my son? He just looked away, pretending not to hear. I folded the page tight in my palm, paper fibers biting my skin. The threat was bigger than I imagined, bigger than dollars. But I couldn't ask more, not yet, not with her eyes drilling me. I decided to wait, to read in silence, though my chest burned. The driver's wipers squeaked against glass, steady like a ticking clock. A memory softened the edge for a second. My late wife's laugh. She used to say, "Paper doesn't lie, only people do." Her voice gave me a drop of hope in that suffocating car. But the hope cracked when my daughter-in-law reached for my hand. She yanked it open, nails scratching, and saw the folded page. Her smirk twisted into fury. "You think that scrap will save you?" I held it tighter, ink staining my fingers, refusing to let go. She slapped my arm, sharp and fast, then ordered the driver again. The rain outside turned heavier, drumming like fists on the roof. My neighbor vanished behind, swallowed by the night and storm. I stared at my son one more time, praying for a flicker of loyalty. His lips parted, breath shaky, as if he might finally speak. "Dad, it's not what you think," he started, voice low. But before the truth spilled, she covered his mouth with her palm. The car screeched around a corner, throwing me against the door. The single page crumpled in my hand like a dying bird. My ribs ached from the shove, my dignity shredded before them both. The clock in my head beat louder. Monday, 9 sharp, or nothing. I still had the paper, incomplete, fragile, but it was something. Then the headlights cut a figure ahead, standing in the road. The driver stomped the brakes, tires screaming across wet asphalt. I slammed forward, shoulder hitting the seat in front, breath knocked out. The figure didn't move, didn't flinch, just raised a hand. Rain slid down their coat, face hidden under a dripping hat. The car stopped cold, silence swallowing everything but the storm. The figure bent slowly, hand lifting a small brass object. Even through the rain, I saw the metal gleam under the lights. He held it up, turning it so it flashed like a warning. The object swung from his hand, dripping, heavy with meaning. It was a key. The key dangled in the rain, metal clinking against his ring. My daughter-in-law hissed, Ignore him. Keep going. But the driver froze, eyes wide, hands glued to the wheel. The storm hammered harder, each drop like nails on steel. I leaned forward, squinting. My neighbor's face emerged at last. He was soaked through, hair plastered across his forehead. In his other hand, that folder bulged with damp papers. He slapped the car's hood, voice cutting through thunder. "Don't let him leave. This page is his only defense." My pulse pounded so loud it drowned the wiper's squeak. I pressed the glass, breath fogging a small circle. The smell of wet asphalt seeped through the cracked window. Her perfume battled with it, sharp, suffocating, bitter. The folder's corner curled under rain, ink running black. Something told me it carried more than one secret. "Drive now, or I'll ruin your job," she spat at him. The driver shifted, torn between threat and conscience. My son's eyes flicked from me to the folder. For a second, I thought he might unlock the door, but he looked away again, ashamed and silent. I tapped the glass twice, desperate, an old code we used. The neighbor understood, pushing one sheet through the gap. It slid wet into my lap, smearing against my trousers. The title leapt out, Court Hearing, Guardianship and Assets. Monday 9 a.m., a clock that would not stop ticking. I had tried to flatten the paper, water soaking into fibers. One signature caught my eye, my own name, but not mine. It wavered, strokes wrong, like a drunk hand had drawn it. Her trick was forged, and now it lived on paper. My stomach dropped, bile rising at the taste of betrayal. "Dad, stop reading," my son whispered, voice breaking. But her hand clamped his shoulder, nails pressing deep. "Shut up," she hissed, eyes narrowing like blades. The car shook as thunder rolled overhead. The driver muttered, "I don't want trouble, ma'am." That mutter shifted the air, a sliver of hope. If he resisted, even for a breath, I could fight. But fear chained me. If I fought too soon, I'd lose all. The deadline haunted me. Monday, the judge, the gavel. 3 days, less, really. Hours already slipping away. The page in my lap blurred more as rain soaked in. Ink streaked like tears across the white surface. My neighbor slammed the hood again, folder still raised. "Tell him what you saw," I shouted, voice cracking. The driver jolted, eyes darting to me, then away. I saw it then, another sheet tucked deep in the folder. A thicker page, edges sealed with official ribbon. Why had he kept that hidden? Why not give me all? A strange doubt coiled in my chest, heavy as stone. Was my ally holding something back, or saving me? She leaned close, breath hot, venomous. "Even if you crawl there, no judge will believe you." Her voice cut like glass, slicing hope into shreds. I clenched the damp paper, knuckles white, veins trembling. My ribs ached with the weight of her words. The driver finally moved, slamming the gear into drive. My neighbor pounded the window again, shouting something. I caught only fragments through the storm's roar. Second page. Without it, you lose everything. Then the car surged forward, tearing him from sight. I stared at my son again, my only blood. His lips parted, tears catching in the dim light. "Dad, I didn't know she'd," he whispered. But her hand clamped over his mouth once more. His confession drowned before it reached air. I closed my eyes, gripping the soggy page. Every muscle burned, but I chose silence. One decision postponed, though it scraped my soul. Fight now and lose, or wait and bleed slower? The answer slipped like water through my hands. Lightning lit the street in a violent flash. For a heartbeat, I saw the brass key still in his hand. He hadn't left. He was chasing us, running behind, shoes splashing, folder pressed tight, arm waving high. Then the car swerved hard, cutting him from my view. My daughter-in-law laughed, cruel and sharp. "You old fool! That paper's worthless without the second." Her ring tapped against the glass, a steady, mocking beat. The sound drilled into my skull, colder than thunder. I bit my lip until the copper taste filled my mouth. The smell of burnt rubber rose as the car slowed. I lifted my head, chest heaving, desperate for air. Through the window, I saw a familiar street corner. Not my home, not safety, somewhere worse. The driver's voice trembled. "We're here." The tires splashed through puddles, stopping by a dark curb. A single lamp buzzed above, flickering weak light. Her grip tightened on my arm, nails biting skin. She pulled me forward, whispering, "Time to end this before Monday comes." And there, on the ground by the lamppost, a small envelope lay soaked in the gutter, edges sealed with wax, red bleeding into water. I froze, staring at it. My breath caught in my throat. It bore my name in smeared black ink. The envelope in the gutter glowed under the flickering lamp. Wax softened by rain bled into the street like a wound. My daughter-in-law's grip tightened as I stooped to look. She yanked me upright, nails digging deeper into my arm. "Don't touch it," she hissed, voice sharp as broken glass. I tried to twist free, but her strength surprised me. Years of anger had made her grip stronger than bone. The paper inside the envelope pressed against the wet wax. Even through the storm, I could smell tobacco faintly on it. Someone had sealed it quickly, maybe in desperation. My son's eyes locked on it, wide, uncertain. He opened his mouth, rain dripping from his lips. "Dad, that's—" But her glare cut him off. The driver shifted uneasily, staring at the envelope too long. That hesitation gave me a flicker of dangerous hope. I bent forward again, knees cracking with the motion. The brass key flashed in my memory, swinging in rain. 2 objects now, 2 promises of truth I couldn't read yet. But she pulled harder, dragging me across the wet sidewalk. Each step scraped my shoes against gravel, shame echoing inside. 3 days, I whispered under my breath. Monday, 9 a.m. If I failed, she'd own everything. The thought hollowed me like my chest was a cracked drum. Would I even survive until then with her beside me? The rain soaked into my collar, chilling me to bone. The driver cleared his throat nervously. "Should I wait?" "No," she snapped, shoving cash into his hand. He lingered, eyes darting to me, lips twitching as if to speak, but he drove off, tires splashing, leaving me abandoned with her. The engine's fading hum left only the storm's roar behind. She shoved me toward the steps of a boarded house. Wood groaned under my weight, splinters piercing my palm. "This is where you'll stay until court," she muttered. Her words dripped with triumph, each syllable a prison bar. My son lingered behind, rain streaking down his ashamed face. I turned, pleading silently with my eyes. For a moment, I thought he might break, but he lowered his gaze, choosing her over me. That betrayal stung more than the cold storm. I swallowed hard, my throat raw from silence. Inside, the air stank of mildew and rusted pipes. The door slammed behind me, lock clicking like a gun. I stumbled forward, boots sinking into soaked carpet. The house whispered with drafts, windows rattling like teeth. Every creak warned me, "You are not safe here." On a rotting table, a single chair waited. And on the chair, a second envelope, bone dry. I froze, my breath catching in my throat again. It smelled of old tobacco, too, same as the first. This one bore a judge's seal pressed deep in wax. I reached for it with trembling hands. My fingers brushed the surface, wax rough like sand. I tore it open, desperate for what lay inside. Inside, one sheet, edges crisp, letters bold. Notice of hearing. Guardianship petition, Monday, 9 a.m. It confirmed what I feared. The court date was set. Her petition claimed I was mentally unfit to manage assets. A lie dressed in ink, signed with her false courage. At the bottom, my son's signature trembled in weak strokes. Seeing his name broke something in me I couldn't repair. My knees gave way, chair creaking under my weight. I pressed the paper to my chest, heart pounding through it. The storm outside grew louder, rattling loose shingles, but all I heard was my son's betrayal echoing. How much had she forced him, or did he choose? I wanted to scream, to tear the paper apart, but I remembered my wife's words again. Paper doesn't lie. This was truth now, truth the judge would read aloud. I couldn't destroy it. I needed to survive it. I folded it carefully, though my hands trembled. A soft knock startled me. 3 taps at the window. I turned, breath held, chest tight. Outside, through streaks of rain, I saw him again. My neighbor, soaked, clutching the dripping folder tight. His hand pressed flat against the glass, urgent, pleading. I staggered up, paper still clenched in my hand. He mouthed words through the glass, lips moving slow. "Second page. You need the second page." My heart slammed like fists against my ribs. What second page? What did he mean? I fumbled with the lock, metal cold and rusted, but before I could turn it, footsteps creaked behind me. Her voice slithered through the dark, close, mocking. "You think he can save you? You think anyone can?" The storm drowned my answer, but my silence was enough. The neighbor knocked harder, folder rattling against glass. My daughter-in-law's shadow loomed long across the floor. She moved toward me, slow, deliberate, like a predator. I clutched the envelope, the page, the only proof I had. Her laugh filled the room, chilling as the rain. And then the power died. The last bulb popped, plunging the house into black. Only lightning lit her outline closer, sharper. The window rattled as my neighbor pounded harder. My breath fogged the glass, eyes straining in the dark. A final flash of lightning revealed it. Something white, tucked under the folder in his hand. He pressed it against the glass, shouting words I couldn't hear, but one line burned clear before the light vanished. The second page was missing. The lightning faded, leaving only the hammer of rain. I stood frozen, clutching the single page to my chest. Her shadow loomed closer, her footsteps deliberate and slow. Behind me, the neighbor banged, voice drowned by storm, and the words he mouthed burned in my skull. Second page. She reached for the paper, nails ready to tear. I pulled back, stumbling into the chair, wood creaking under me. The smell of mildew rose, thick and suffocating. Her smile curved sharp as she whispered, "That page means nothing." I believed her for a second, until thunder roared denial. My son lingered in the doorway, shoulders hunched. Rain dripped from his jacket, forming a dark puddle. His eyes flicked to me, then to the window. I caught the flicker of shame, maybe regret, maybe fear. "Daniel," I whispered, voice cracking, "tell me the truth." He shifted, lips parting, words trembling on his tongue, but her hand clamped down on his arm hard. "Don't!" she spat, her voice sharp as rusted wire. The storm rattled the window panes like bones in a box. The neighbor kept pounding, muffled shouts bleeding into thunder. I rose slowly, knees aching, paper crushed in my hand. The ink smeared further, blue streaks across white. Felt alive, fragile, a bird I couldn't set free. The neighbor's silhouette shook, folder slamming against the pane. What truth hid inside those dripping pages? "Sit down," she barked, pushing me back into the chair. Her perfume lingered in the damp air, bitter and strong. I obeyed, not from fear, but from strategy. A fight here would lose me the paper. I needed time, more than my anger allowed. Daniel stepped forward, jaw clenched, fists trembling, his mouth opened again, desperate, hesitant. "Dad, it was her who—" The words barely formed. She lunged, covering his mouth with her palm. The unfinished truth cut through me sharper than any blade. A sudden draft swept through the house, rattling the door. A candle stub on the table flickered, flame spitting smoke. The smell of wax mixed with mildew, acrid and choking. She turned, distracted for a second, eyes narrowing at the sound. I saw my chance, but fear pinned me still. I thought of my wife again, her voice steady. "Truth has weight, but it never drowns," she used to say. I wanted to believe it, clinging to the damp page, but without the missing sheet. Truth was only half born. Could the judge believe a bird with one wing? The neighbor struck the glass harder, 3 quick knocks. Something slid under the frame, wet and folded. It caught against the sill, paper edges bleeding rain. I lunged forward, but she shoved me back. Her eyes flared. "Don't you dare!" I stayed seated, but let my hand drop to my side. Fingers brushed the floorboards, slick with damp air. The sound of dripping water masked my movement. I stretched further, fingertips grazing the edge of paper. Her laugh filled the silence, sharp, cruel, victorious. "Without that second page, you're nothing," she whispered. Her nails scraped the tabletop, wood groaning under pressure. Daniel flinched at the sound, eyes darting between us. The storm outside howled, windows shaking in their frames. I pinched the paper's corner, pulling it closer, inch by inch. The folded sheet slid fully inside with the next gust. I yanked it into my lap, heart thundering, breath ragged. Her head snapped toward me, eyes narrowing like blades. "What did you take?" she shouted, lunging forward. I crumpled it in my fist, hiding it under my coat. Her scream pierced the storm, raw with rage. Daniel stepped back, colliding with the doorframe. For once, he didn't move to help her. He just stood there, face pale, eyes wide. Her fury turned to him now, burning like fire. "You coward!" she hissed, pointing at him. "You let him trick you, you weak little boy!" His lips trembled, words dying before they formed. But something flickered in his eyes, faint but alive. Maybe, just maybe, his silence was breaking. The paper in my coat pulsed like a living heart. Smelled of ink and damp tobacco, rough under my palm. I longed to read it, to know the truth inside. But not now, not with her watching every breath. Decision postponed, again gnawing my soul to bone. The storm's growl grew deeper, rattling the roof. Water dripped through the ceiling, tapping steady on the floor. Each drop marked time, closer to Monday's gavel. Each drop whispered, "Too late, too late, too late." My chest tightened, breath hitching against the ticking water. Then the knock stopped. The neighbor's shadow vanished from the window. Only rain remained streaming down the glass. Had he left or been forced away? Silence pressed heavy, broken only by her laugh. And in that silence Daniel whispered, voice shaking, "Dad, there's more." She made me. His words broke. But before he could finish, the front door slammed open. Cold wind rushed in, papers swirling from the table, and a flashlight beam cut through the dark. The flashlight beam swept across the rotten walls, blinding me. My daughter-in-law froze, her hand still clamped on Daniel's arm. The storm poured louder through the open doorway, wild and merciless. Boots thudded on the warped floor, each step heavy, deliberate. "Who's here?" A voice barked, deep and steady. It wasn't the sheriff. Too rough, too unpolished. I squinted, shielding my eyes from the light. The figure stepped closer, rain dripping from his jacket. The beam landed on my face, then dropped to my hands. I clenched the folded paper tighter, chest heaving in fear. Daniel tried to speak again, but she silenced him. Her nails dug so deep, I saw him wince in pain. The stranger lowered the flashlight, revealing my neighbor's face. Soaked, shivering, but alive, his eyes blazed with urgency. He clutched the brass key, knuckles white around it. He stepped forward, pressing it into my trembling hand. The cold metal burned against my skin like ice. Its edges bit into my palm as I closed my fist. "Use this," he whispered, breath fogging in the dark. "It unlocks more than you think." Her laugh broke the moment, sharp and cruel. "You think an old desk will save you?" she sneered. Daniel's head jerked, eyes flicking up in confusion. "What desk?" he whispered, his voice thin. Her hand snapped across his face before he could say more. The sound cracked like a whip, echoing through the house. My chest burned with rage, shame flooding in waves. She dared to strike him in front of me, my own blood. Yet he stood there, frozen, as if carved from stone. The storm rattled every window, drowning my thoughts. The neighbor shoved the folder at me again. Water dripped from its edges, smearing the ink inside. "This page," he gasped, "but it's still not enough." My heart slammed against my ribs. What else was missing? How many lies had she planted for the court? Her eyes glittered as she stepped closer, hand raised. "One move, old man, and you'll regret it." The key dug deeper into my palm, anchoring me. Its weight was strange, heavier than its size, like it carried not just metal, but memory. I remembered my wife's desk upstairs, locked for years. The smell of her perfume still lingered on its drawers. She had kept letters, receipts, even our old wedding rings. If anything held proof, it would be there. But could I reach it under her watchful eyes? The house groaned, water dripping steady into a bucket. Each sound marked time slipping away closer to Monday. Fear gripped me, but so did a fragile hope. That desk could carry the truth to free me. I just had to survive long enough to open it. Daniel shifted again, lips trembling. "Dad, it was her who," he whispered faintly. Her glare cut him silent, but the damage was done. His hesitation gave me something real, a crack in her control. And cracks grow, even in the hardest stone. The neighbor pressed closer, voice sharp. "Tomorrow, bring everything to court. Don't let her win." She lunged at him, but he darted back through the door. The storm swallowed him, his shadow gone into rain. Only the brass key remained, biting into my fist. Her fury boiled, twisting her face into rage. She shoved me down, chair splintering under my weight. Daniel backed away, hands shaking at his sides. "You're pathetic," she spat, pacing the floor. "Nothing you cling to will matter when Monday comes." I stared at the key again, wet and gleaming. Its teeth shone like a secret begging to be revealed. I wanted to rise, run to the desk, tear it open. But I couldn't. Not yet. Not with her circling me. Decision postponed again, like a blade over my head. The storm dimmed for a moment, thunder rolling distant. In that quiet, I heard my own heart a-pounding, and beneath it, a softer sound, almost hidden. A rattle upstairs, faint, like a drawer shifting loose. The desk. It was waiting. My daughter-in-law stiffened, hearing it too. Her eyes snapped to the ceiling, suspicion flaring. Daniel flinched, his mouth parting to speak again, but she turned to him with sudden fury. "Not another word," she growled, voice low and deadly. The lamp flickered once, buzzing in protest. Shadows stretched long across the walls, sharp as knives. Her steps echoed closer, circling me like prey. The key cut deeper into my hand, metal sharp. I closed my eyes, whispering to myself, "Wait." And then, from upstairs, a sound louder this time. A drawer slammed shut on its own, or by someone else. The echo shook the floorboards, rattling through the walls. Her head jerked toward the stairs, face pale in the dark. "Who's in this house?" she hissed. The slam echoed through the house like a gunshot. She froze mid-step, her eyes darting toward the staircase. Daniel clutched the wall, face drained of color. "Someone's up there," he whispered, barely breathing. The storm outside howled in agreement, rattling every pane. She straightened, chin high, anger curling her lips. "No one is here," she barked, voice too sharp, too quick. But her eyes betrayed her, darting, nervous, calculating. The brass key throbbed in my palm, cold and heavy. I lifted it slightly, letting it catch the dim light. Her gaze snapped to it, fury sparking. "Give me that," she demanded, reaching out fast. I pulled my hand back, clutching it tight to my chest. The key cut deeper, edges biting my skin until it stung. Blood welled in tiny beads, metallic scent rising sharp. Daniel stepped between us for the first time. "Stop it!" he shouted, voice cracking under strain. She blinked, shocked, but quickly masked it with a sneer. "You don't have the strength to oppose me," she hissed. His hands trembled, but he didn't move aside. The storm outside calmed for a heartbeat, and in that silence, I heard it again. A drawer upstairs sliding slowly, wood groaning in protest. I rose from the broken chair, knees shaking. "Someone's already there," I muttered, fear prickling my skin. Her eyes narrowed, suspicion clouding her face. She grabbed Daniel's wrist, yanking him back like a shield. "You'll stay right here," she snapped, her voice ice. I stared at the staircase, each step a threat and a promise. The key in my hand felt like destiny pressing forward. The mildew stench thickened as rain leaked through cracks. The smell of wax still lingered from the stub candle. The house felt alive, every creak pulsing with intent. My wife's memory hovered in that silence. "Truth waits," she always said, "but it knocks loudly." Another slam upstairs rattled dust from the ceiling beams. She shoved Daniel toward me, rage breaking her mask. "Fine, go see what's there," she spat. Her voice trembled under the storm, betraying a flicker of fear, but her eyes burned, daring me to climb. I limped forward, each step heavier than the last. Wood groaned, nails squealing in damp boards. My hand traced the railing, rough and splintered. The key cut deeper into my palm, a painful guide. Behind me, Daniel whispered, "Dad, please be careful." At the landing, the air shifted colder. The smell of dust and old tobacco grew sharp. I followed it, heart pounding louder than thunder. The hallway stretched long, shadows bending under lightning, and there, the door to her desk room stood ajar. I pushed it open, hinges crying like a wounded animal. The desk loomed in the corner, old oak scarred with time. Drawers half open, papers spilling onto the floor. A gust from the cracked window scattered them like leaves. The lockbox sat on top, brass tarnished, but solid. The key slid from my shaking hand into the lock. A click rang out, clean, final, undeniable. The box creaked open, dust rising in a ghostly cloud. Inside, bank slips, receipts, old photos curled at the edges, and one flash drive, black plastic labeled in shaky handwriting. "Forecourt, property of Dad." My chest tightened, breath leaving in a sharp gasp. Her perfume suddenly filled the doorway behind me. "You shouldn't have touched that," she growled. Her shadow stretched across the desk, swallowing the light. Daniel's voice rose behind her, urgent. "Let him see it. You can't hide everything forever." Her hand shot back, striking him again. The crack of skin on skin rang louder than thunder. I clenched the flash drive tighter, fury burning my chest. The storm screamed through the broken window, rain splattered across the papers, smearing ink. I tucked the drive into my pocket, heart racing. Her steps moved closer, each one deliberate and heavy. "You think that toy will save you?" she hissed. I faced her, trembling but unbroken. "It's more than enough," I rasped, voice raw. Her eyes blazed, teeth clenched, fists curling at her sides. For a moment, even she seemed unsure. The desk groaned as lightning flashed through the room. Daniel stumbled forward, words bursting free. "Dad, she forced me to sign," he shouted, her hand clamped across his mouth again, but this time not before the truth slipped into air. The silence that followed burned hotter than fire. A sudden knock pounded from downstairs, hard, urgent. 3 booming strikes shook the walls of the house. Her eyes darted to the door, panic flashing. Daniel gasped, pulling free of her grip, and then another knock, louder, shaking the whole frame. The storm roared with it, as if the night itself demanded entry. My pulse thundered, each beat a countdown to the truth. The flash drive burned in my pocket, alive with promise. She hissed, voice cracking, "Don't open that door!" But the pounding came again, relentless, unstoppable. The pounding at the door shook the entire house. Dust rained from the ceiling, drifting in the storm-lit air. My daughter-in-law stiffened, her hand frozen mid-reach. Daniel backed against the wall, chest heaving, eyes wide. I clutched the flash drive in my pocket, its edges sharp. The knocks came again. 3 booming thuds. Each one rattled the windows like bones in a coffin. She hissed, "Stay away from that door." Her voice cracked, breaking for the first time. Fear curled at the edge of her words. Lightning flashed, painting her face pale, almost ghostly. For a moment, I saw her doubt, her cracks. But then her mask returned, fury sealing the seams. "You open that door, you lose everything," she warned. Daniel swallowed hard, whispering, "Maybe we've already lost." I limped forward, heart slamming against my ribs. The wood beneath my feet groaned with every step. The storm's wind howled louder, rattling the roof beams. I reached the top of the stairs, staring into the dark. The door below shook again, hinges whining in protest. My wife's voice echoed in memory. "Truth comes knocking." I gripped the rail tighter, breath ragged in my throat. The flash drive pulsed in my pocket, alive with promise. If I could play it, I might have proof. But proof meant nothing if I didn't live till Monday. Behind me, Daniel whispered, "Dad, please, be careful." His voice cracked like a boy's, not a grown man's. I turned, meeting his frightened eyes through the shadows. For the first time, he looked like my son again. That look alone gave me one more breath of strength. The door downstairs burst open with a crash. Wind and rain tore through the hallway, wild and merciless. A figure stepped in, flashlight beam cutting the dark. It wasn't my neighbor this time. It was a deputy. His badge glinted in the lightning, voice sharp and stern. "Court order," he shouted, holding up a sealed envelope. Water streamed from his hat brim, dripping onto the floor. I froze, breath caught, staring at that official seal. My daughter-in-law snarled, stepping in front of him. "You can't come in without permission." The deputy shoved the paper into her chest. "This is permission," he snapped, his tone cold. She staggered back, clutching it, lips twisting in rage. Daniel stared at the seal, hope flickering in his eyes. I gripped the railing tighter, my knees threatening to buckle. The deputy's light swept over me, then the room. "Sir, you'll need every piece of evidence you have." His words struck like thunder, shaking my bones. Every paper, every slip, every recording mattered now. My chest heaved as I nodded, clutching the drive. She turned on me, venom spilling. "Don't you dare hand him that drive!" Her voice cracked, desperation leaking through her fury. Daniel flinched, his shoulders jerking at her scream. The storm outside boomed as if echoing her rage. The deputy stepped closer, hand hovering at his belt. "Ma'am, if you interfere, you'll be removed by force." She froze, lips quivering, hatred burning in her eyes. Her ring tapped nervously against the wooden doorframe. The sound drilled into my skull, steady, relentless. I pulled the flash drive from my pocket, trembling. It gleamed in the light, droplets sliding down its plastic. Daniel's breath caught, his lips parting in disbelief. This will prove everything," I rasped. The deputy nodded sharply. "Then guard it with your life." The word sank deep, heavy with weight. Guard it with my life. Yes, that's what it meant. If I lost it, she won, and I was nothing. The flash drive burned hot in my palm like fire. Hope and terror mingled, twisting in my chest. Suddenly, the power snapped back on. Light flooded the house, buzzing, flickering weakly. The old desk lamp blazed, shadows scattering to corners. The sudden brightness blinded me for a moment. When my vision cleared, she was gone. The front door swung open, rain blowing inside. The deputy spun, flashlight darting across the storm. Daniel cried out, "She ran!" Voice trembling in panic. I staggered forward, clutching the flash drive. The storm swallowed her footsteps into the night. But she wasn't gone. Not really. Her laughter drifted back through the rain, thin and sharp. It carried on the wind, a promise of vengeance. I shuddered, clutching the drive tighter, refusing to let go. Because I knew she would come back. The deputy turned to me, voice low. "You have until Monday, sir. Don't lose this." He tapped the envelope in her hand, now mine. Daniel wiped his face, whispering, "Dad, I'm sorry." Before I could answer, another knock rattled the door. The knock wasn't frantic like before. It was deliberate, official. The deputy froze, his hand tightening on the flashlight. Daniel's eyes darted to me, confusion heavy in his face. I clutched the flash drive, its plastic slick with sweat. The storm hushed for a heartbeat, waiting. The door swung open, wind gusting in. A sheriff stepped through, rain dripping from his hat brim. His uniform was soaked, badge gleaming under the weak light. In his hand, a sealed envelope bore my name. The wax seal glistened crimson, edges bleeding from the storm. "Mr. Harris?" His voice was steady, commanding. I nodded, though my throat closed tight around the word. He placed the envelope in my palm, heavy with authority. "This is your notice to appear in court," he said. "Monday morning, 9 o'clock sharp, with all evidence." The words hit harder than thunder. Evidence, every slip, every page, every sound mattered. The flash drive burned in my pocket like living coal. I pressed the envelope against my chest, heart racing. Daniel's lips parted, as if to finally confess, but her absence pressed against us like a shadow. I knew she hadn't gone far. Her laughter still lingered. She was out there, watching, waiting, plotting the next strike. The sheriff glanced at the deputy, exchanging a wary look. "We'll be back Monday. Until then, stay safe." Safe. The word felt foreign in that house. The smell of mildew, the creak of rotting boards, the drafts. Nothing about this place offered safety, only reminders of loss. Still, I nodded, because hope needed small anchors, even false ones, for a single night of breath. The sheriff's eyes narrowed on me. "You have enemies in your own bloodline," he said. I flinched, the truth cutting deeper than his badge. Daniel's face crumbled, tears shining in his eyes. He whispered, "Dad, I never wanted," and broke off. The sheriff turned away, boots thudding to the door. His presence filled the room with law, with order. For the first time, she wasn't the loudest voice, but even law had deadlines. Monday at 9. A clock ticking louder with each passing drop of rain. I sat at the desk, the flash drive in my palm. It smelled faintly of metal and dust, old plastic heated. The label's shaky writing blurred under my thumb. For court, property of Dad. My wife's hand, or someone protecting me. Daniel edged closer, eyes red and swollen. "She made me sign, Dad," he whispered. "She said you wouldn't survive the hearing anyway." His voice cracked under the weight of his own guilt. I clenched the drive tighter, forcing breath through anger. The sheriff paused at the threshold. "Whatever's on that device, guard it well." His words lingered heavy, shaping my fear into resolve. I nodded again, too drained to answer aloud. The storm swallowed his figure as he stepped out. The deputy followed, shutting the door behind him. Silence rushed in, thicker than the storm had been. Daniel slumped against the wall, his body shaking. "I didn't know what to do," he muttered. His confession cut deeper than any blade. I wanted to comfort him, to reach for him. But every part of me burned with betrayal. His signature was on those papers, sealing my fate. Even if she forced him, he let it happen. And I sat there, torn between rage and sorrow. The envelope lay heavy on the table. The wax seal glistened in the lamplight, mocking me. I broke it open with trembling hands, breath shallow. Inside, a single notice, stamped and signed. "If absent, judgment will be entered by default." Those words clawed at my chest like talons. If I failed to appear, I lost everything. Not just my savings, but my dignity, my life. The flash drive pulsed in my hand, my only shield. I couldn't falter. Not now, not ever again. Daniel's voice cracked through my thoughts. "Dad, what's on it? Do you know?" I shook my head, throat tight with dread. He stepped closer, reaching for the drive. I pulled back, clutching it to my chest. The rain eased, thunder rolling distant, but another sound rose, faint yet sharp. The click of a latch, the shift of a purse strap. My stomach turned cold as ice in my veins. Her purse. The missing second page was in it. Daniel's eyes widened, realizing it too. We turned together toward the doorway. Her silhouette appeared in the hall, purse clutched tight. Her smile returned, slow, venomous, certain. "You'll never see what's inside," she whispered. Monday arrived with a sky heavy and gray, the air sharp with rain. The courthouse steps gleamed wet, stones slick beneath my old shoes. Daniel walked beside me, head bowed, shoulders hunched with shame. In my coat pocket, the flash drive pressed against my ribs, and across from us, she strutted, purse clutched like a trophy. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and dusted paper. The pews creaked as strangers shuffled, whispering, watching. I felt their eyes on me, some pity, some judgment. The judge's gavel cracked once, sharp as a gunshot. "All rise," the bailiff barked, voice echoing against the walls. She sat straight, lips curled, eyes full of victory. Her lawyer whispered, sliding the papers across the table. Daniel avoided her gaze, his hands trembling on his lap. I clung to the drive in my pocket, my pulse racing. If this failed, I would lose everything I had left. The judge peered over glasses, voice flat. This is a petition for guardianship and control of assets. Her lawyer rose, rehearsed words, spilling smooth and practiced. He is unfit to manage his affairs, he declared coldly. He risks squandering what should benefit his family. My chest burned with fury. Squandering? I had built every dollar with my hands. The judge glanced at me, waiting. I stood slowly, knees creaking, throat dry as sand. I have proof, I rasped, holding up the flash drive. Her face flickered pale, mask cracking for the first time. The purse strap in her hand tightened, leather groaning. The judge motioned to the bailiff, who brought me forward. I placed the drive on the desk, trembling, but certain. The plastic clicked against the wood, sharp, final. "Play it," the judge ordered, voice sharp with authority. The clerk slid it into a small laptop, screen flickering alive. The courtroom held its breath, silence heavy, suffocating. Then sound spilled out, her voice cruel and clear. "Tell him you signed it willingly. He'll believe you." The room gasped, whispers flaring like fire. Daniel buried his face in his hands, shoulders shaking. Her laughter filled the speakers, each word dripping venom. "If we do this right, the money's ours. He's too weak to fight." The judge's gavel slammed, demanding silence. She leapt up, face red, spitting words. "That recording is fake. He made it up." But her voice betrayed her, matching every word played. The judge's gaze hardened, eyes narrowing like blades. "Enough!" he barked, silencing her protest. Daniel lifted his head, tears streaking his face. "Dad, it's true. She made me sign." His voice cracked, shattering whatever defense she had left. Gasps rippled again, the truth laid bare. My heart broke, but also swelled with grim relief. The judge leaned forward, eyes fixed on her. "You attempted fraud. You coerced. You lied." His gavel struck once, booming like thunder. "The petition is denied. The account remains his." A wave of breath swept the room, heavy with release. Her purse slipped from her hand, thudding on the floor. Paper spilled out, fluttering like wounded birds. And there it was, the second page, smeared but damning. The judge motioned, the bailiff scooping it up. It matched the forgery perfectly, sealing her fate. Daniel sobbed quietly, shame folding him small. I stood taller, though my knees still shook. The room felt lighter, the air sharp with justice. The judge's gavel cracked again, final, undeniable. "Court adjourned," he said, eyes never leaving her. She stammered, excuses spilling useless, empty. The bailiff closed in, hand on her shoulder. Her laughter was gone, replaced by shallow gasps. She looked at Daniel, but he turned away. Her eyes landed on me, burning with hate. I met her glare with steady silence. No words left, no defense, no more masks. The courtroom emptied, murmurs trailing out the doors. Daniel lingered, his shoulders slumped, his spirit broken. I gripped the bench, letting breath finally fill my lungs. The flash drive sat on the judge's desk, proof eternal. The second page lay sealed in the bailiff's hands. Her empire of lies collapsed under the weight of truth. But the silence between me and my son remained heavy, and I knew the trial wasn't the end, only the surface. Because, as the sheriff led her away, her lips curled once more. She mouthed words meant only for me, sharp as knives. "This isn't over." The echo lingered, colder than the rain outside, and I felt it. I hadn't seen her last move. The bailiff's hand pressed her forward, shackles clinking faintly. She stumbled once, but her eyes never left mine. In that glare I saw rage, humiliation, and a strange calm. She mouthed again, silent words, poisonous as smoke. "This isn't over." The courthouse emptied around me, whispers fading into rain. Wood benches creaked as strangers filed out, heads shaking. Some offered pity in their glances, some judgment, some awe. But I stood frozen, staring at the door she vanished through. My chest ached, heavy with victory and loss braided together. Daniel lingered near the wall, broken and pale. His shoulders sagged, his eyes red-rimmed, his lips quivering. He looked at me like a child again, desperate and small. "Dad," he whispered, I don't know how to fix this." His voice cracked, filling the silence heavier than thunder. I closed my eyes, breath burning deep in my lungs. The flash drive still sat on the judge's bench, cold and still. That tiny object had saved my name, my dignity, my life. Yet the cost clung sharp, the betrayal of blood, the loss of trust. I reached for Daniel, hand trembling, unsure if I could forgive. The judge's voice cut through, final, unyielding. "This court recognizes full ownership of assets returned." The gavel struck one last time, echoing like a church bell. justice delivered in ink and wood, loud but not healing. I exhaled slowly, gripping the bench to steady my legs. Outside, the rain eased, softer now, like cleansing tears. The smell of wet stone and fresh earth filled the air. I stepped down the marble stairs, Daniel trailing behind. Each step felt lighter, though my heart still bore weight. The world looked different, sharper, colder, but mine again. My neighbor waited under the courthouse awning, soaked. His hands clutched that battered folder like a soldier's flag. When he saw me, he smiled faintly, relief softening his eyes. "You made it," he said, voice rough but proud. I gripped his hand tight, whispering, "You saved me." Daniel stood apart, ashamed, unable to meet my gaze. His silence screamed louder than any confession. I wanted to reach him, to pull him close, but my chest clenched with hurt, too deep, too fresh. I turned away, staring into the thinning rain instead. People passed, umbrellas blooming like dark flowers. Some glanced at me with curiosity, some with judgment. But I felt taller than I had in years, not because of the money, not because of the law, but because I had fought and I was still standing. Her laughter no longer rang in my ears, but her shadow lingered in every corner of thought. I knew she would try again. Pride like hers never died quietly. Still, I held the memory of the gavel, firm and final, a shield I could carry, though cracks still showed. Daniel finally whispered, barely audible, "Dad, I'm sorry. I was weak." His words hung heavy, aching against the sound of rain. I turned to him, my voice low but steady. "Strength is choosing right even when it costs you." He flinched, tears streaking his face, lips trembling. I didn't add more. I couldn't. Not yet. Forgiveness wasn't a coin to be traded in one breath. It would take time, maybe a lifetime, maybe never. But the truth was out, and that mattered most. My neighbor patted my shoulder, firm, grounding. "You're not alone," he said quietly. Those words warmed me more than any victory could. I nodded, breath catching, eyes stinging with old grief. For the first time, I felt less invisible. The courthouse clock chimed noon, clear and sharp. Its echo carried across the square, ringing freedom. I tilted my face to the sky, letting rain cool my skin. It smelled of fresh beginnings, of endings turned over. The world hadn't ended, it had just shifted. We walked down the street, shoes splashing shallow puddles. Daniel followed, hesitant, 3 steps behind. The silence between us stretched wide, fragile, uncertain. But the distance was not permanent, I felt that. Even broken bridges could hold if rebuilt with care. I thought of my wife then, her laugh in the kitchen, her hands smoothing bills across the table, her steady eyes. She would have told me to fight, and I had. I imagined her smile soft and approving. It gave me strength, even in her absence. By the time we reached the corner, I stopped. I turned, looking at Daniel directly, fully. "Son," I said, "don't let her shadow follow you." His lip trembled, but he nodded, a spark returning. A chance, small and fragile, but still alive. I looked back once more at the courthouse steps. The gavel's sound still echoed, strong and final. The account, the money, the dignity, they were mine again. But what mattered more was standing, breathing, unbroken. I had the last laugh, not her. And yet, as I walked away, one question burned inside me. If my neighbor hadn't shouted that night, folder in hand, if the key hadn't found its way to me, brass and cold, if the flash drive had vanished before the truth spilled, what would have happened to me? So I ask you now, as I close this chapter, what would you have done in my place? Would you have fought, even when betrayed by blood? Or would you have let silence take everything? Tell me, because your answer might save someone tonight. If this story stirred something in you, subscribe. I'll keep bringing more of these truths, heavy but human, and share your thoughts. I want to read your heart, because none of us should walk through storms alone. And in this family, no one gets away clean.